Everybody, welcome. Thank you for being here. I know it's lunchtime for a lot of you. But welcome to the very first Recovery Industry Mastermind. Thanks for taking the time to be here. My name is Tony Saramatis, and I'm sure many of you don't know me, but I'm working with Vaughn Clemens to help organize and facilitate this mastermind event. And real quick, just a couple of quick housekeeping items before I turn things over to Vaughn. First off, everyone's on mute. That's one of the downsides to being on Zoom, but there are a lot of upsides to it too. It allows us to meet from all over the country, which is great. But there is a chat button and a Q&A button at the very bottom of your screen. So what we're going to do in the original invite email, I had said that we were going to have a 5-minute Q&A after each presenter. But after going through a dry run, it doesn't make sense to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we've got 7 presentations today, and they're just about 5 minutes each. And we're going to wait for the very end, and then we're going to go through all the Q&A and the comments at that point. Now, there's a pretty good chance that we're not going to get to everything. We've got 90 minutes set aside, and we're going to respect your time. So, but I promise you, we will address every question, every comment. And, I guess at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Vaughn Clemens for just a couple of comments and to kick us off. So Vaughn, it's all yours.
Thank you, Tony. I'm glad to have you all with us on this call today. As we start this call, I want to make sure we all remain focused on the reasons we're here. Now, you all know that our industry has experienced more loss of life this past year than in any other year in our history, and this simply cannot continue. Life should never be taken for granted. And additionally, when a life is lost and the acts around those loss are repeated, it's incumbent upon us to mitigate the risk to those agents continuing to perform those tasks by ensuring they are adequately protected. Now, today we come together as an industry to make sure we reflect on the lives that we've lost this past year and what we can collectively do to minimize losses in the future. Yes, we've talked about body cameras and body armors, and we've talked about having the industry come up with a fund to assist us in purchasing of this equipment. That remains our primary objective. After my call to action last month, I received many calls seeking to discuss what they saw as ongoing problems in and around this industry that must be addressed. They all agreed we should do something for our agents. Now, some felt that not addressing the core of the problem as they saw it would simply put window dressing over this problem. On the call with me today are the ones who answered the call to present those thoughts, to share their voice, to present their ideas, their hopes, and potential solutions that will aid us as we move into action this year. It is my fervent prayer that we lose no lives this year. It's my prayer that no one is injured or maimed behind repossessing or releasing of this collateral. It is my prayer that today, as we come with multiple voices, funneling into one call for action from us all, that we all can agree to look back in the coming year on something we've done collectively for probably the first time in our history. That all we have come together to do is exchange ideas to make this industry better. These professionals who have joined me on this call today intend on giving their voice to the voiceless. The voices you hear from today aren't just representing their ideas. They're representing the lives of the agents we've lost. They represent all the lives that we can save in the future with solution-based ideas. They represent the possibility of creating solutions for the agents we put in harm's way each day. We will begin the conversation today with Dave Baker. He's the Chief Compliance Officer for American Recovery Services. Dave has also had 20 years in law enforcement in his background, and we felt it best to kick off our conversation with him. Let's get started. Dave?
Well, Vaughn, thank you very much. I don't know how to possibly follow that. That was very eloquent. I'll just go forward with saying that, like Vaughn said, for those of you that don't know me, and I've met a lot of you, and I see a lot of familiar faces here. My name is Dave Baker, and I am the Chief Compliance Officer with American Recovery Service. I also serve as one of many committee members for the Recovery Agents Benefit Fund. And of course, as Vaughn mentioned, my previous line of work was law enforcement. I feel that does give me some insight into situational awareness, personal protection, equipment, and those types of solutions. Clearly violence against agents is certainly nothing new, but it's definitely out of control. And with that, our industry must respond aggressively. I'd like to thank each and every one of you again for joining the call today and leading the charge for this action. With that being said, I plan to keep my comments here today short in order to ensure plenty of time for fellow presenters to speak, and of course, Q&A session afterward. That said, it's my recommendation that we organize our approach by forming a special committee or a nonprofit organization with a governing board to collect and manage funding to be used for specialized situational awareness and threat assessment training, as well as distribution of personal safety equipment like body-worn cameras and ballistic vests. To that end, I've identified a few areas that I feel need to be addressed in order for us to pursue this initiative. And I'll just bullet point them through for you. First, of course, is the equipment. Body cameras has come up a lot. Body cameras serve as a really excellent deterrent in the field. I can tell you that from personal experience. And then, of course, ballistic vests. Ballistic vests serve as a physical barrier in a last chance situation. With that, we're presented with some statutory limitations and obstacles. Obviously, the nonprofit status of an organization is something that we can overcome very easily. So that one checks off my list pretty quickly. I've already had my team at ARS, my compliance team, legal department, pursuing a 50-state assessment to identify statutory roadblocks or hurdles, such as legally possessing, owning, purchasing equipment such as ballistic vests. Believe it or not, in states like California and some others, it's unlawful for a citizen to purchase a ballistic vest, unless, of course, they're certified as a security officer or a law enforcement. That said, it's not illegal to possess the vest. So you'll have to forgive me if I don't seem to understand that particular statute. Assessing and mitigating liability, I think, is another area that we need to identify. And I think that through a standardized waiver upon distribution of this type of equipment, we can easily answer to those concerns. To give you an example of that, I had heard some discussion about concerns from agency owners about being liable for the individual safety, having had distributed a vest. That said, again, I think through carefully orchestrated and identified language, we can easily solve those problems or concerns. The next thing I had on there was vests have a shelf life typically of 5 years. Again, through personal experience, manufacturer will only typically warranty the vest and its functions for a 5-year period, and that's whether or not it is utilized. Now, it's also my experience that they last much longer than that, but of course, through liability reasons and whatnot, the manufacturers do set those limits. So there is a shelf life essentially, and it would be a recurring need or an expense. Next thought I had was the acquisition of equipment. We'd have to identify where to acquire lightly used or new vests. Both are options that are utilized regularly around the country in law enforcement for supplying agencies that may not have the funds to purchase new vests. And then, of course, where to obtain cameras and supporting camera equipment, such as the software and whatnot. I believe we have a pretty good connection with Motorola that we, from what I hear, is potentially willing to help us out there. So I think maybe answer given there. And then requisition, distribution of equipment or funds. Once the nonprofit is set up, we'd have to have a process to ensure that agents or agency owners can submit their requisitions for equipment. Personnel would have to be identified for assessing equipment requests and vetting that verification process for distribution. And then, of course, we may find ourselves in a situation of physical storage of purchased or donated equipment, as well as the expenses associated with shipping items out to those in need. So again, all things that could be answered through an organized fund and organized nonprofit. The last thing I had on my list here is training. You're going to hear other presenters here today talking about situational awareness and threat assessment training. I can tell you again from personal experience, it really being equipped with the knowledge of how to navigate scenarios that you all and your employees navigate on a daily basis is paramount. And definitely increases survivability and a high risk situation exponentially. So in conclusion, I want to add that as I speak for ARS today, we stand with our agent partners, association friends, and clients, ready and willing to contribute personnel, funding, and to support the implementation of a nonprofit organization to combat these issues. And with that, I would like to thank you all again and yield any of my remaining time, if there is any. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. So next up, we've got Mark Lasik. Mark is a repossession litigation consultant, and he was a 40-year agency owner. And I'm sure many of you know Mark. So Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you. Just make sure you unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to be included in this especially important meeting. I transitioned from being a repossession agency owner to a consultant. I think my first case was maybe 10 years ago that I worked on. It was Ford Motor Credit versus Kozlowski. Some may recall that it was the consumer who was killed, who got ran over by the rollback. My current job is to provide expert testimony on professional repossession industry standards. I was hired to testify on wrongful repossession lawsuits in both federal and state courts over 20 times in 2023. And of the cases that I reviewed, part of my job was to review thousands of pages of deposition testimony of agency owners, agents, and clients. What I discovered was amazing. In many instances, repossessors received little or no training. Some had little knowledge of breach of the peace or what to do after a verbal objection. In one such deposition, the repossessor actually testified he had never heard the breach of peace term. And what surprised me the most was he was a member of a national repossession association. I also learned that forwarders were hiring repossession companies based on their lowest fees rather than the quality of service provided. That's scary. I concluded repossessors are being injured and killed because of the absence of training or not following the training they had already received. I was also able to conclude that training and knowledge are the #1 defenses at protecting ourselves from violence. So what should we do? I think monthly meetings should be first on your list of priorities to educate your employees and serve as a monthly reminder on policies and procedures. Trust me, if you're involved in a wrongful repo lawsuit, providing proof of a monthly safety meeting is gold. Your monthly safety meeting should include breach of the peace, retreating after a verbal objection, and stop knocking on doors after the hookup. I cannot amplify any more on the dangers of knocking on the debtor's door after hooking up to the car. A repossessor who refuses to drop the car or retreat after a verbal objection is putting himself and others in harm's way. Your employees should be reminded that the right to continue a self-help repossession is null and void after a verbal objection. I know we don't like that, but it's true. Courts have ruled a verbal objection to the repossession is a breach of peace, and you will lose that argument in court. States such as California, Florida, and Illinois, they say a repossession is complete when the car is hooked. This language would not protect you in a court of law, and it also issues a false sense of authority to the repossessor. This language increases the chances of a deadly confrontation. Truth is, a repossession is complete when and only when the repossession has been removed from a safe distance from the scene of the repossession. The collateral has been removed. Repossession companies are taking more risk, often because a second or third trip to the residence is not profitable. I'll tell you what, us old timers years ago, we would wait until we knew it was positively safe to hook up to that car and take it away when there was a less chance of the debtor running out. So what do? You raise your repossession fees and start charging storage on day one. Stop being afraid to lose a client. You can bet your client will call you back. They'll pay your fees. To all of you large repossession agencies, be an example. It's estimated there's going to be 2 million repossessions in 2024. There's no way smaller repo companies can manage that volume of work. If your client decides to go elsewhere, they will return and they will appreciate you more. Implement a no contact policy, stopping door knocks. This means less confrontations with the debtor. Less confrontations equates to less arguments and less violence. Retreat when you're faced with a verbal objection. Clients who are paying you to door knock for keys are putting your lives at risk. To all the insurance providers, speak louder on the dangers of confrontations and door knocks. Shout it from the rooftops at conferences if necessary. To AFA, ARA, RSIG, and the Eagle Group, safety and repossession policy and procedures must be the highlight of all conferences and conventions. Take a page from the Eagle Group playbook and provide situation awareness seminars. Ron Brown's situational awareness seminar is second to none. Invite qualified high-level speakers to the conferences. Put on seminars about confrontational awareness, body language, communication, and safety, because training and education is the key to minimizing deaths and injuries. I'm going to end with this. Reasons for injury and violence are many, but the most critical are the avoidable confrontations. All indicators are telling us there will be more than 2 million repossessions in 2024. If we don't spend more time on training and education, injury and death will increase. To my colleagues, industry leaders, and clients, you guys are the policymakers. You can save lives and you can become the solution. Agents as well as consumers are being killed. Once it happens to someone you love, all of a sudden your life is changed forever. So what are you going to do about it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. All right. Next up, we have John Messiah. He is the head of loss mitigation at Bridgecrest. John.
Yep, I'm here.
With us? All right, there you go.
All right, thank you. This is very important to all of us. This is not a problem that just impacts repo vendors or forwarders or LPR providers or lenders. I think this impacts all of us. As many of you know, I care deeply about this industry. I left for a little bit and I came back just because of how much I love this industry. And, this is an industry for all of us. And this, you know, anytime I see something happens to one of your agents, it's like it happens to somebody on my team. And, you know, as I look on the phone, I see people, you know, from, again, forwarders, LPR providers, repo vendors, and other lenders on this call. So, you know, it impacts us all. This is something that's important to all of us. I think, you know, the cameras and the vest are definitely important. And obviously that's a financial burden. And again, this impacts all of us. So, you know, I will help lead talking to other lenders and helping facilitate some of that financial burden. But I think, you know, also the training aspect, right? I think, you know, something I learned from others in this group when we met the other day was I didn't realize how much the training is really important, right? And, you know, I know UAR has a great training program, but I think, you know, reiterating training and the head on the swivel and paying attention. And, you know, we all do computer-based trainings. I took some computer-based trainings yesterday and I clicked through them real quick, right? That's not going to work for this type of situation when your life's in danger. So it needs to be face-to-face training. And you know, when you're doing training like that, it's a lot more expensive and there's more of a financial burden there. So we need to figure out as an industry how to help you guys, you know, be able to pay for those things. But it's important. I think, you know, the country in general is getting a little crazy nowadays. And, you know, we're going into an election year, and no matter which side of the aisle you're on, you know, we saw what happened with the last election, and, you know, the country got crazy. I am very, very concerned with the jobs that you guys do and with the state of our country. I do feel that has, you know, definitely contributed to some of the increase in loss of life we've seen last year. And, you know, I'm worried about what's going to happen this year. Again, I just want to show support, you know, from the lender side. We definitely feel it as, you know, just like you guys do, and we're definitely a part of it. And we want to help you guys. This is not just your problem. This is also our problem. And, you know, when you guys lose somebody, like I said, anybody I've talked to that knows me will tell you, I see your teams as an extension of my teams, and you represent us. And so, you know, when you guys lose somebody, that's just like us losing somebody as well. So, you know, I want to do whatever we can to help stop that from happening. And again, I agree with the cameras and the vest. And I know some companies have already invested in that stuff. But we need to get it to where everybody has that for all of their employees. And then, you know, again, the training I think is going to be what puts it over the top, because, you know, we all get complacent in our everyday lives. Like, how much do you really think about driving when you're driving to work, right? We just kind of go in autopilot and drive to work, and, you know, probably not as sharp as we should be. So, you know, anything we can do from the lender side, I definitely, I'm pledging to all of you on this call and everybody that's not on this call. I will do everything I can to help from the lender side and make sure that we help support you guys and get your teams the training and the tools they need to be safe and successful. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We appreciate you. All right. Next up, we have Brennan Hamilton, the CEO of Rapid Recovery Agency. Brennan, you with us?
I'm here.
All right. Take it away.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. I just want to, you know, for everyone that knows John knows that, you know, he's extremely sincere in what he says and what he feels about this industry. So I just want to first thank you for your leadership in the lending community, John. It means a lot that you're here and that you're participating in this. So I'm just going to give you a personal testimony from us at Rapid Recovery. I've been a long-term provider of you know, ever since I could remember being in this business, I've supported our agents with bulletproof vests. I've had a problem, and I'm just, you know, being honest. Everyone always seemed to be very open to it and wanting and willing. Everyone loves the idea, but it's always been really hard for us to actually see it through. People wear it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, but I've always failed at getting them to wear it all the time, every single day, every single shift, no matter what the circumstance is, for various different reasons. So, you know, we brainstormed a little bit yesterday, and Vaughn mentioned an awesome policy that he implemented that we're definitely going to take a stab at to help get people to continue wearing them day by day, because that's obviously, you know, going to mitigate some of these risks. But another thing that I just want to go ahead and I want to speak about on my time is fees, right? Like, fees are a huge part of the problem in this industry, being able to, you know, sometimes it's hard just making ends meet, right? And, you know, having all the different compliance that we got plagued with and everything else, the rise of trucks, the insurance costs, the payroll, I mean, you name it, it's increased, other than our fees. And so it's hard to stay a step ahead of the game when you're plagued with, you know, all these increases in everything operational in our business and our industry. You know, I just want to, you know, kind of go off of the article that was written just a few weeks ago about today's $325 repossession fee from 30 years ago, and how that is $685 today from the most current inflation calculator. And I just want to say that one more time. The $325 repo fee from 30 years ago should be $685 in today's money. That $325 right now has the same purchasing power, according to that article, of $154, which says a lot. Since coming to this call, I reached out to a company called Armor Max, and I just want everyone to know that's on this call that they're also on this call as well. So if you guys want to go ahead and pick their brain or ask more questions, they're going to leave their contact information in the chat. But what Armor Max does is they're, you know, I think the best safety for all of us and all of our agents is to be able to armor our vehicles, our trucks, right? Bulletproof them. And to me, that would be, you know, the best case scenario. No matter if they're wearing it, you know, the vest only gets your vital organs, you know, what's to stop a neck or a head injury and things of that nature. So in my opinion, the best safety is making sure that your trucks are all bulletproof. But obviously that comes at a cost. I got some preliminary numbers from them, and based on like a single cab truck, you know, that those ranged anywhere from, you know, 12,500 upwards to, you know, $32,500 to armor a truck with like basic handgun level safety. And that can go all the way up to, you know, into like the $80,000+ per truck, depending on how many type or, you know, how high of a level of safety that you want it to stop rifles and things of that nature. But I think that it'd be a good start. And I think that if there was enough people that are participating in this, I think we could at least get those costs down even lower. But it all goes back to getting fees increased, because obviously this has to come at an expense of a bus, right? And I think that one of the ways that we can go ahead and get these expenses paid is by upping our fees. So that has to change too. So you know, again, one last time, if anyone wants to go ahead and pick the brain of the people at Armor Max, they're going to leave their contact information in the chat. And I had some preliminary conversations with them, and they're more than willing and wanting to help us in our need of protection for our agents. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brennan. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we have Jeremiah Wheeler, the president of DRN and MV Track. Jeremiah, you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, take it away.
So first of all, thanks everybody for joining. You know, this is a very, very important subject and a very important topic. It's not only about agent safety, it's about fees that help drive those things. I know that, you know, you're going to hear that a lot. A couple of quick points though that I want to throw out there of things that we're working on with the ARA and with Dave Baker and others. We have to get a committee, and obviously we're working on those things behind the scenes. We're trying to form a committee whether that be a nonprofit or whatever the case may be, the best route to provide funds similar to the RABF, so that we can create a fund that would help agencies buy safety equipment. And what that safety equipment is could be body worn cameras, it could be bulletproof vests and things of that nature. DRN has, over the last few months have, dedicated some financial means to that project. We're basically pledging that in the year of 2024, we're willing to put up in between $300,000 and $400,000 into that fund, so that we can help agents buy more equipment and obviously buy body-worn cameras. The other things that we're working on and haven't been nailed down yet, because all of this stuff really just came to light and came together in the last couple of months, in terms of everyone getting together and kind of spurring ideas and throwing things out there what we can do. The other thing that we're thinking about is, offering body-worn cameras with the purchase of LPR equipment at no additional cost. So those are all obviously financial things that we have to work out internally, but rest assured that, us and all of the partners here that are involved, I think are absolutely more than willing to help everyone start a fund and make sure that we can not only buy the right equipment, but provide the right situational awareness training. We have connected with some of our law enforcement community partners. One is Ethos Tactical. Ethos provides body-worn vests and things of that nature. We need to obviously kind of center around, in my opinion, a group that is willing to give us bulk discounts based on all of us buying together. And so, if the committee picks out the best solution for that, if it's not Ethos Tactical, that's perfectly fine as well. But I want to make sure that we're all pulling the cart in the same direction, so that we can pool our funds together to create the best level of discount for every agency out there that they can afford to buy the equipment that's fitted right for their agents. Because as Dave stated earlier, the vests have to be fitted to the person, and they're very different. And so beyond that, that's really the update that I have. Obviously, we're willing to dedicate resources, time, energy, and most importantly, the funds to help start this process. So if I can be of assistance to anyone, no matter if you're a DRN affiliate or not, or an MV track agent or not, I'm more than happy to sit down and have a conversation with you and try to help as much as we possibly can. So that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I appreciate you being here. All right. Next on the docket, we've got Mike Poplinski and John Pollard. Mike is a vice president with Harding Brooks, and John is a senior account executive with Harding Brooks. And you guys with us?
We are. Thank you.
Right. Take it away, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. First off, just thank you for inviting us to discuss such an important topic. It's always an honor to be part of these discussions, really just to put our industry in a better place. My team at Harding Brooks, we pride ourselves in trying to be a leader in training, education, and most importantly, just an advocate for you guys for this space. So one thing we do is we dissect every claim that comes across our desk. We look for trends that we can bring back to you guys, hopefully correct the patterns that we see and put you guys out of harm's way. One alarming trend that's kind of jumped off the page in the last 12 months is how our drivers, how our agents are reacting in hostile debtor situations. The number of claims coming in are really just shocking to me. When the debtor becomes hostile, what are we doing? Well, unfortunately, in many situations, our drivers are pushing back and they're just not stopping until they're getting the vehicle, till they're repossessing the vehicle. And unfortunately, a lot of tragic things are happening. Kind of leads me to, our first key point, which is training. We do a lot of driver training. Renee Lowe on my team does a lot of individual driver training with companies, established, well-respected companies, and it's very surprising to her, to us, when she starts talking about what you need to do in household debtor situations, which is really just, hands up and walk. They push back. They're like, what do you mean? We need to get the car. We need to be able to repossess these vehicles and get paid. And that's a training issue. You know, we need to take time and make sure our drivers know what to do in these situations. We have a saying that goes, it may not be your fault, but could have been avoided. Right? You can't control someone else's doings, but you can control yourself. You can control what you do in certain situations. We've talked about it already with other people, but body worn cams are a great tool for many uses. We believe in body cams. Body cams act as a de-escalation tool, promotes polite behavior, especially when they see, that light goes on and they're getting recorded. Their whole entire demeanor changes as soon as they see that light. It's a fact that their aggressive nature calms considerably. Second, with body cams, in my mind, the best training tool you can have. I'm a sports junkie, love sports, relate everything back to sports. The best athletes watch film for countless hours to get better. See what they did right, where they can improve. Same applies to our agents. You need to use this film, real life footage, their own video of what they did right and where they can improve. This is the best training, the best learning experience anyone can have. And thirdly, it saves money. A quick fun fact for you guys, a recent study on body cams show that every dollar spent on body worn cameras equates to $4 saved in litigation. Kind of transition a little bit, another main item we wanted to touch on, we want to take a moment and talk, is about group life insurance for you guys and for your teams. So John Pollard handles and specializes in this area for us. So I was going to flip it to him for a few words on this topic.
All right, thank you, guys. So while 2023 certainly saw a record high for many of you across the board, the lows of our industry and what has happened endured have outweighed them all. And the amount of violence against our agents is on the rise. We can't dispute that. And I encourage all of you as owners, while you're putting together your benefit packages, for your employees, that you think about adding a group life insurance policy. It's a guaranteed issue life insurance policy that can protect all of your employees with $50,000 of coverage for as little as $10 a month per employee. And it's very affordable, and with everything else going up in the world, this is a much value add that you can have for your benefit package at not a very large cost. So I encourage you all to consider adding a benefit like this to help protect your employees and their families, in a time of tragedy and, a time of hardship. Thank you, guys.
Wrapping up our time slot, I just want to say everything you do has a cost. You cannot train, educate, protect your team without an investment. I'm not going to get into the fees, and so many already have, but know your value. Thank you.
Mike, John, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Finally, we have Lauren DeWitt and James Waldron. Lauren is the president of Capital Adjusters in Austin, and James is the president of First Adjusters in Austin. Y'all with us?
Yes.
Yes,
James?
sir.
All right. Take it away, guys.
Kind of last up, so I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. So, we're going to dive right in. Just want to point out Jordan and his team at RDN has been instrumental in trying to get accounts flagged and notification of violent accounts. I would hope that we as an industry can continue that backing and push it even further to hold the lenders and forwarders accountable for these violent flagged accounts, because they're starting to drop off from agency to agency. They're flipping so quickly. We want to know as agents what we're walking into. If there's history there of violence, we should know about it and have the right to decline such an account. No piece of metal is worth anybody's life, and most lenders also agree with that. Second, we need to educate the lenders on the dangers that we face in the field and why those accounts need to be flagged. What criteria meets a flagged account? We don't want anybody murdered when they threaten they're going to kill somebody. You send an agent out, we get killed. We're the ones who take the bullets. And we also need to push for education. We hear this a lot. Let's, regardless of what association you belong to, if any at all, let's at least get the ground level agents educated on the situational awareness, how to properly wear body armor, how to take it on and off really quickly. And last but not least, the buying group. We need to look into a buying group instead of me buying 10 or 20, Vaughn buying 20, 30. As a group nationwide, we can come together, and generally the discount started about 20% buying wholesale in a group. So we need to look in maybe even Amazon warehousing or something of that nature. But Ethos Tactical and several other out there sound like that they're more than willing to help us in that group buying situation. So that is definitely something we need to look into. And last but not least, let's actually do this. Let's not talk about it. Let's actually do this. And Lauren?
Okay, yeah, excellent. I second everything that everyone has said. Excellent ideas. We do need to implement them and quickly. I know I need to. One thing that I'm good at that I can help with, when these situations occur, it kind of looks like the perpetrator, the shooter, gets off pretty easily. Like the latest guy, the Alabama shooter, $60,000 bond or bail. I'm like, what? That was a murder, alleged murder. So what I can help with is contacting via email or phone calls the district attorney, the prosecutor, the judges in the area that a violent incident occurred, be it a shooting or a murder, and put a face to it. Here's Joe Smith. He was killed in your area yesterday. You gave him $60,000 bond. Here's his family. Here's what they say, and to raise awareness. And as it was pointed out yesterday, well, we don't want to open ourselves up to further legislation or legislating us out of business. So I feel that's where our associations can step in, and we too. Let's increase our public relations with the nation at large. Why do you need repossessors? The days of those stupid cable shows, Lizard Lick and Repo whatever, are gone. I don't think those are around anymore, are they? So those gave a really bad impression of what repo agents were, and we need to get it out there what we really are. And it could be as simple as having your drivers be sure to dress nicely, and keep your trucks nice, and you also let's put a face on our agents there, and that's what I had to say.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks, James. All right. Well, everybody, we're about 45 minutes in, so we've got plenty of time to for comments, for Q&A. Vaughn, do you I noticed that you asked a handful of questions. Why don't we start there? And I think from the presenters who feel qualified to jump in and answer, please do. So question number one, since law enforcement turn over their vests every 5 years, can they donate those to the repo industry, or can law enforcement pledge new vests to the industry?
I'll take that one. The answer is yes to both. There certainly are programs. I know there's large law enforcement agencies around the country that actually have an overage of brand new vests that they will donate to smaller agencies around the country. Now, whether or not they would be willing to divert those donations is certainly unknown. Also, large storage or bulk storage of lightly used vests as a result of turnover, right, and attrition within the organization. Vest has not expired past the 5-year manufacturer warranty, recommended warranty period, and goes into storage. Again, those are then available to be either reassigned or transferred to other agencies. So I would say that if we could identify an in there, and perhaps as Brennan mentioned, some of these folks that have those types of contacts may be able to help us navigate those waters.
Dave, can I jump in real quick, Tony, just to direct directly to Dave?
Go ahead, Vaughn.
Dave, since the law enforcement has a shelf life on these vests, is there a reason why that is? Is it does the metal lose its ability to stop bullet, or is that just for simply continued revenue for the vest makers?
Yeah, I'm no construction expert. Maybe some of the folks that are on here might be able to speak better, but the Kevlar weave is rated for a certain period of time. And it's my understanding that that period of time is identified as a result of the threat level of the vest. In other, what level is the vest? Is it a level 1, level 2, level 3? Then they have sub levels of, say, 3A, for example. And then that's what it's rated to stop, right? And then those fibers tend to break down over time as a result of age, and also things such as perspiration, improper care, spillage, those types of things. So that would be a big contributor. And I have to believe that there's just some liability concerns associated with going past that 5-year mark, saying, hey, you could still wear it, and the department policy is that it's still good, but the manufacturer won't stand behind it typically after 5 years. That may have changed to some more modern technologies that I'm not aware of, but that's the standard for the agency that I still currently work for.
With your background, Dave, would you recommend a vest? I don't want to say an entry level vest, but a vest that we should look at as an industry to protect the agency best we can?
Yeah, my opinion is the 3A, level 3A vest is the standard law enforcement vest. They're made in a extremely lightweight capacity now, with technology being what it is. I know when I started nearly 30 years ago, they were pretty rigid, pretty uncomfortable, pretty hot. They're much different these days, much different.
All right. I'm not sure, Vaughn, was this directed at someone in particular about the drivers being so aggressive that they recover a vehicle because they're not paid?
I think it's important that we use this time to talk truth and not beat around the bush. Someone made mention of drivers, and I think I don't know who the presenter was, but drivers are aggressive at the door to recover a vehicle. I think it was Mike, because hey, we don't get paid unless we pick up the car, so we have to get the car. I want to know what in the lending community can they do to change their practices behind this. Now, for our company and many on this call, we pay our drivers to take a loss, even though the vehicle is not repossessed. We pay them for the repossession to make them leave the scene. Now, this is a cost. There's no report at the end of the day, but I don't want our drivers feeling as if they have to pick up a car. Now, there are some clients on this call that do pay that. All we have to do is show them a picture that the vehicle's on hook, and they pay for the repossession. But I want to know, particularly for the client community, is there something they can do in their practices and policies that will make a driver not feel as if, across the board, there's a lot of companies that can't do that. We've been blessed to be able to provide that to our drivers, but everybody can't. So if we had a practice and policy coming from the client community that can aid the agent network to know that you should be able to get paid for a vehicle if you have to drop it to prevent any type of litigation because or loss of life because the driver feels they have to get the car to get paid. So that really is open to anybody. If anybody wants to answer that from the space or anyone, I would like to hopefully get some input from them.
Suzanne, did you want to hop in on that?
It's actually Chris Burns. Can you hear me?
Oh, Chris, okay. Yeah,
so there's a couple things I like to say. One that we've noticed and experienced ourselves, unfortunately, and we've made it a practice with our guys, it's not permitted whatsoever, is with LPRs, a company may have an order and then another company scans the vehicle and they get the LPR order on the vehicle. So technically they should be getting that vehicle because they have the order for it to pick it up. The original agent will get upset, or their spotter car, instead of letting the other agent take the vehicle, they'll literally cause confrontation. They'll knock on the debtor's door to let them know that the car is being repossessed. This, in my opinion, is just ridiculous. We need to educate our drivers. Do not instigate a fight with the debtor against another agent. My thing is, I'm going to use you, Brendan, because you're in my back.
Chris, I think we lost you. We lost the audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we've got you now.
All right. So, for example, let's say one of Brendan's trucks are in my backyard and it's in a bad neighborhood. We're going to keep an eye on his driver to make sure he's okay, that he gets out of there safe. You know, an extra set of eyes to make sure our fellow agent is okay is what we should be teaching our guys. Yes, we're all competitors, but at the same time, we got to work together as a team. Don't instigate, you know, a riot or someone getting hurt over a car. The second thing I want to mention is, and we're working with this with Fowler, is educating law enforcement, educating the public that you cannot hit a recovery agent and get away with it. So with Florida on the security side, the lobbyists passed a law that if you assault the security officer, it's now a felony. We're working to do the same thing for the repossession agents, that if a repossession agent is assaulted and he's clearly wearing a shirt that says recovery agent, that's now going to be a felony, hopefully once we get this bill passed. But educating, you know, for example, when we have a situation with a debtor and they've touched one of my guys, we may not press charges because the guy didn't get hurt, but we tell the officer, please let him know he could have gone to jail for doing what he did. And that educates the debtors, hey, I can't be doing what was done on Lizard Lick or Repo, you know, whatever shows, because yes, they do think they can assault our agents and nothing happens. One step further, which somebody mentioned, I think it was Lauren, is educating our district attorney's offices. One of my agents literally had a gun picked to his head. We had a body cam. We had truck footage. West Palm Beach Police Department submitted it. The district attorney's office said, well, there's not enough evidence and that's kind of your job to deal with that. No, it is not our agent's job to have a gun picked to their head and have their life threatened and nothing to happen over it. So my big thing is education, education. We use body cameras. We have truck cameras. It works. You know, I recommend my guys wear vests. All that works. But if we don't educate the public and educate our drivers, we're going to have still these issues. Does that make sense?
Thanks, Chris.
So this is Justin, if I may. I have a quick question. So I know education seems to be, a big component of this, and body armor and body cameras. Absolutely agree that those help save lives. They don't necessarily prevent the incident from occurring, but it hopefully provides a better outcome to those. So what is the capability of getting? Because right now I think training is really isolated down to individual owners, right, in their ability to implement training. But what is the driver's ability to get trained? Do we have to send them off somewhere to get them training, that real-time training? Watching a video is different than I think, especially when it comes with situational awareness, right? Running through exercises, being aware of those things. Like, what is the industry's capability of actually providing that level of training? And like, it's kind of an open question. I think anybody who's been through it, somebody mentioned Ron Brown. I've heard of Ron Brown's training, and everyone speaks very highly of it. But if it is that critical, how do we get that out across the board? And obviously it doesn't solve the problem. How do we afford it, right? But I think the first step is providing it, right, and having the means to provide it. And so, does anyone have any insights or thoughts on that?
Justin, if I could reply to that,
sure.
The Eagle Group 20s worked for years developing this, what we call SACAT, Situational Awareness Confrontation Avoidance Techniques. Last year, we actually integrated a program from the U.S. Marshal Service, and it actually changed to SACADET, Situational Awareness, Confrontational Avoidance, and De-escalation Techniques, which is being trained to a lot of officers at this point. We offer that to anyone in the industry at absolutely no charge. All they have to do is email me. We'll send it out. It comes in a manual. There is a PowerPoint presentation with it if you want to train your entire group at one time. And there is a 50-question test. You can take that. You can give it to your employees monthly, quarterly, however you want to do it. Let them take the test, put it in the personnel file. We keep that. It's reviewed every year. And again, it was just reviewed, upgraded to SACADET with this de-escalation techniques. I don't understand why there is absolutely no cost to that. We don't charge anything for it. If you want it certified through Eagle Group, there's a great $15 per employee cost. All the Eagles get it at no charge, members of Eagle Group, but that's out there. Anytime anybody wants it, all you've got to do is get in touch with me, email me. The Eagle Group website, you can go to that and get all my contact information, or it's real simple, rbrown@csi-arm.com. No charge. And I don't understand why everyone in the industry is not giving that training to their employees. Again, I didn't just develop it myself. We developed it from U.S. Marshal Service and the Border Patrol, different law enforcement training programs, and then modified it into our industry. Free to everyone. All you got to do is ask for it. And I apologize to everybody for coming in late. We had snow here in Oklahoma City. I've been out at my ranch breaking ice for my horses. But that's out there. If anybody wants it, hey, we're tickled to death to give it to you.
Yeah, it's great. And so just John, just a quick question. Like, so obviously you said there's a free option, right? And that's if we'll provide you the materials and you run through it with the team. And you said there's a certified option. What is the difference between the free and the certified?
If you want to send the test back to Eagle Group, we will grade the test. We will do remediation on it if it's needed. And then we give a numbered certificate out to that person good to the end of the year. During the year, we send out at least 2 continuing education programs, no charge for that, which upgrades you for the next year. And again, it's $15 per employee, which includes the 2 upgrades and the certificate for the next year.
And is your recommendation doing that once a year, every 2 years?
We do it every 6 months. Employees come, employees go. All new employees have to go through the training. And again, we upgrade it annually. We look at it, or as needed. If something happens and we see something that needs to be added, an example is confrontation with law enforcement. A while back, there wasn't anything in there of what to do if you're told that, hey, who needs to call law enforcement? When do you need to call law enforcement? How can law enforcement get involved if you not get in trouble? Things like that. If we see a need for an upgrade through the year, we upgrade it right then and send the upgraded copy out to everyone. And again, there is no charge for the material. You can use it yourself. You don't have to send it to us. You can have your employees take the test, grade it, put it in their personnel file. But we will furnish a certificate, continuing education annually. And again, it's a great cost. I got tired of being an expert witness and hearing people say they could not afford to train their employees, that the training programs cost too much. If you can't afford $15 a year for your employees, then you need to get out of this business. That's my opinion.
Hey, Ron, can you put your contact information in the chat group? I think that people are asking for that, and I think we need to have it. Please.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I agree. I think look, if there's a free or a reasonably priced solution out there, I think this one that we should look at, right? As this roundtable. And Ron, I'd even go so far as at a forwarder, I would like my vendor management team to maybe go through that. So they get them, they are involved in situations, or at least need to be aware of situations like that. If that's something you guys are open to, and letting our employees do it.
Oh yeah, that's wrong. I'll be wrong. I think he said anybody in the space. So yes,
Okay.
I don't see why it would be a reason. Marcus, I think you had your hand raised if you wanted to chime in.
I got to figure out how to get mute off. Can you hear me now?
We got you, Marcus.
So yeah, so that's a scenario as well, and there are other ones out there. Now, some of those are more pricey and costly, to where, to answer your question, Justin, folks can go to and actually be in a brick and mortar building.
Mm-hmm.
There are things out there that are available. I think different options that are out there depending upon your needs. I do know that the brick and mortar facility, they'll do real life scenario and hands-on training. So coming from a prior law enforcement background, that is some of the better training that you can do in any aspect of when you're dealing with the public. But if doing it online or studying it, anything is better than nothing. But I just wanted to throw out there, there are many options out there, or I don't want to say many, but several.
Thanks, Marcus. Can everybody see Ron's contact information in the chat? Thumbs up. All right, good.
You can email you can email me, you can call me, and I'll get the information right out to you. And again, it'll be 3 packages: the training manual, the PowerPoint, and the test. No charge.
Thank you, Ron. We appreciate you being here.
Just out of curiosity, was everyone aware that that was available for free? So then I guess how does like, I mean, I don't, and again, I don't know this, I don't know the materials. But I think a couple people said good things about it. Is there a way to like provide this as a resource or an information piece from this? Like, do we take away, say, hey, look, here's an option, and there's other local options too. I'll give you a good example. I know our sheriff's department here in Nashville, Davidson County, they do a similar de-escalation thing here, actually as a free thing for individuals. I don't know the full scopes of it and if it really meets the criteria here, but I know they do stuff like that. I don't know if other local law enforcements do things like that or not, but I think that's one of the questions that what are our resources available today? What resources are deficient? How do we fill those deficiencies, right? And I think that sounds like the goal of this particular meeting to me, right?
Justin, I think to answer your question, this industry has been so fragmented for decades. And one of the things, going back to Ron's program, is a lot of people don't showcase things that they're not a part of. What we have to do moving forward is, if it's going to save an agent's life or mitigate damage to one of our agents, it needs to be pushed across all platforms. So that's something that we move forward through our feedback sessions. We'll get better at doing.
Yep. Okay, cool. Hey, so I wrote down a lot of questions as you were going through these, so I'm happy to keep going, or if somebody else is to jump in and kind of change it up, but just want to put it out there.
Yeah,
Tony.
Yeah, go ahead, Justin. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
I'll just put my hand up. I'll put my hand up if we need to move on. Okay.
Yeah, feel free to shush me. I can talk all day. For those of you guys who know me. So so one of the things is understanding kind of like the scale of things, right? We talk about kind of the field agents and being some of you guys or some individuals are using body armor and body cameras. Do we know what the average cost per body armor and per camera is? And then also, is there like for the body cameras, is there a monthly like subscription to that, so that it's it's only good as if it's maybe feeding back somewhere? And then also, I think kind of just to isolate that as one piece, I think that equipping our field agents, right, is what the cost is, and then how many field agents need to be outfitted, or by an estimate. Obviously, it's a variable, right? Do we know what the scale of it is?
If nobody has an answer, I can answer some of that for you, Justin.
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer some of that too.
The reason why I say that is I just purchased a whole group of cameras. There are a lot of facets that go into that, and each company is going to have a very different model that they want to choose. There are subscription models that you can do. There are ways that you can house and host your own in-house. Your upfront cost is going to be more. I would say the majority of the industry would probably see it in a subscription model, just because the upfront cost is a lot more economical. I know Vaughn is just brought a subscription model in. He could tell you what the price of that was. The model that I went with, I want to say, I would have to circle back to tell you what the cost per camera is, because there's also some in-office cost as well. But the short answer to that is it's going to be all over the board. I think you could expect, Vaughn, what was the monthly cost on that, on yours?
The company's name is Vestige, and it's $64 a month for 24 months. And that includes the camera, the harness, the whole deal.
And the company that I went with was MCA. It's a Motorola back product. And that's a fixed one-time cost, or depending on the direction you wanted to go.
Hey, Tony, there's a guy with his hand up. I don't see his name, but it says iPad. Can we let him? Speak?
Oh, that's me. I'm Caleb Argo. I'm sure you guys know my dad, but I'm up and coming and learned all this. One of the things I wanted to touch on, you guys were talking about, violence and how to do things like that. One of the big issues we have, and by no means is this me pointing a finger, but one of our clients will put in an update and everything like that, and we'll mark it as violent. Like we just had one where a guy turned his dogs loose on our driver's leg got bit up, everything like that, marked as violent, never went back to it, put in the update. About 4 days later, the client calls us, hey, why isn't this account been ran in 4 days? We told them, we put in the update, marked as violent. They pretty much said, well, we need it ran until the bank decides what to do with it.
That's a I will try not to get passionate here because this is something that's upsetting to me across the board. I've invited both software providers from RDN and MBSI to this call, and what I would question them with is something I've asked them in private. I'll ask them in public. Flagging an account is simply not enough. I think there needs to be something that the software providers can do to blacklist a VIN, blacklist it until it changes hands, meaning it sells at an auction and goes to another owner. So I would like maybe if Jordan or Ray or Justin are on this call, for one of them, take your time, but I would like them to answer that question. I think the client community must accept this as a part of this commitment for change. We have to get into the thought process that accepting what we used to do as a part of what we'll continue to do is unacceptable. So I think the software providers should be the ones that answer that question.
Hey, Vaughn, if I can real quick, I will say, I know here internally, like regardless of what the software solutions do, when that count gets flagged in our system here, it won't allow that system that order to come back through. It automatically declines that order. As soon as it gets flagged, it shuts the account down. And then if that lender tries to send it again to us, it pops up, and declines the order automatically. I don't know if the providers may have a solution like that that's independent of those, but I do agree at an overall arching, we're a cog in the greater wheel, right? And so systemically it needs to be changed.
So here's my question to that. I agree with you. It needs to be changed and something needs to be done. But if the client that hired us doesn't read the updates to flag it, even though we're flagging it, if they don't read the updates to flag it, there's nothing going to be there.
But I'll tell you what, if you're an agent of mine and you flag that account as violent, right? I don't care what the client does. I'm shutting that order down. We do not open it back up under any circumstances whatsoever. That's all. What I don't think gets prevented, right, is that when the client closes it with me and then sends it to Dave and doesn't tell him that there was a violent flag on there, right? That unfortunately happens, which is why I think we need more systemic.
I think this is something that I believe is on the client side and the software providers, whether it's RDN, MBSI, and Auto AMS, whoever the software is, that's who we really need a response from. And maybe they're not on the call, but I would like to get something from them is what they think they can do to mitigate that risk to these agents. Jordan is trying to get unmuted. Can you unmute him?
Yeah, try it now. Try it now, Jordan.
All right. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Hey, so first of all, I think the first and foremost is that the clients do need to read the updates. Justin, I commend you that if something is flagged as violent in your system, it can't, be reassigned out and it won't kind of go through the ebb and flow of the work cycle. But clients need to read the updates, Vaughn. We have it in place. We are totally open, though, as RDN to work with our integrated partners to see if there's something more that we can do. But it falls back to if an agent puts in, to Argo's point, if an agent puts in an update saying that customer is violent, there needs to be some form of accountability on the lender side to not let the order go back out again. And I mean, we are willing to do whatever, though, Vaughn. I've already talked to Justin about it. This is at the forefront of our mind. We're seeing it more and more. And even talking to agents on the daily, I can see it more and more. So we're totally open to any suggestions you guys have. And that's to any other forwarding partner on here, maybe emulating what Justin has done. I think that's an excellent idea, that it just stops dead in its tracks on their assigning platform when it's flagged as violent.
Jordan, Ray, before you jump in, let me just ask a quick question.
Sure.
Maybe I'm not understanding something. So yeah, it's great that Justin can do that at his level. What happens with that account after it closes with Justin? Does it die, or does it go back into where ARS gets it, or another forwarding partner gets it, or it comes out direct? What happens with that VIN? That is the question I think we need to ask. It can't be something that one company is doing. It must be something that we do as a whole. And that's why I lean on the software providers to come with that answer.
Sure. So to my knowledge, it should stay flagged in the system. When a new case ID is created, though, I don't know if that flag remains. We can do some testing on our end, Vaughn, with some cases and see what the outcome is, and I can update everybody. I can update you, and then maybe you can pass it along.
Okay.
But we're 100% willing to do whatever we need to do.
And Jordan, and I think one of the has. I'm sorry. Let somebody else speak.
Ray, it was Ray had his hand first.
Hey,
Ray,
Vaughn.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Vaughn, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So many in this call may not know me. I'm fairly new to the industry. I've been at MBSI for 6 months and have established, I think, a good relationship with Vaughn and the ARA team. I'm going to sort of echo, I think, what Jordan just said. Like, there's probably a two-part answer, but philosophically, the first part of the answer, absolutely comfortable that MBSI can do what it needs to do, including, by the way, sort of outreach to lenders and trying to get sort of buy-in and alignment around how to solve it. But the technology software part of this question is really not that difficult, right? You got developers, you got coders. I think the core idea of like attaching a permanent piece of information to a VIN or a record makes a ton of sense, and having that data follow the VIN is, I think, what I'm hearing. I was taking notes earlier in the call, so happy to participate, collaborate, in the working groups to see where this goes.
Chris?
Actually, it's
Can you hear
Suzanne
me?
this time.
It's
Oh,
actually
wait,
Chris
Chris,
this
you're
time.
gonna go? Well, all right,
So-
I'll go after you then.
My question is this: is how do we define what is a violent debtor? I mean, at what level do we say the threshold to blacklist them? Is it because they verbally assault, or is it because the police actually respond? I think that's going to be one of the big issues for the lenders, is how do they classify it to be violent enough to blacklist a client, a debtor, from being repoed?
Yeah, so if I can jump.
I think you muted yourself, John.
Oh,
John,
sorry.
there
Yeah,
you go.
if I can jump in real quick. I think no lender wants this to happen, right? So like, I don't think any lender wants you to confront somebody that's already been flagged as a violent customer. So I think, Jordan, this would be probably a good topic to bring up in the lender roundtable that you guys do, that we can discuss. I think Chris is dead on though. Like, what qualifies for that, right? Like, customer cusses you out, like the dog thing for sure. Like, what does that mean? I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. Like, lenders don't read the notes, right? So if it's just in the notes, like, it's probably going to get missed. So I do think, flagging the account some kind of way, and then for us to have some kind of review and probably call you and understand what that situation was. And then they're probably, again, depending on what the definition of violent customer is, depends on if that goes back out or not. But I do think today the accounts probably automatically just go back out. And I think that, that shouldn't happen, and we don't want that to happen. There's no lender, I think, that wants that to happen. I think it happens just because everything is automated and reassignments are automated. And if you think about the lenders you guys work for, and, a lot of them are even bigger than the company I work at, but like, they have, 30,000 assignments out there right now, 40,000 assignments, right? So like, they're not reading the updates. So I think flagging it in RDN is, or Auto IMS, either one is very important. But then what do we do? Like, the flag should stop it from getting reassigned. And then there probably should be some kind of conversation between you and the lender that way the lender does understand why that one was flagged, and they can shut that down and send it to Replevin, because the lender does have other options to pursue the vehicle. And that's what they want to do in those situations. So I definitely don't think lenders want you guys in that situation.
Thanks, John. And just before Jeremiah jumps in, John, I want you to know that I in no way feel that way as well. I think it's a system. The system we're using is allowing this to happen. And a flag must be where a VIN number goes to die. It must die at the flag. And until it changes hand, it must stay dead. Jeremiah?
Yeah. And we have a roundtable. RDN does a good job of having a roundtable with lenders. And so that's why I said to Jordan, we can definitely bring this up as a topic, and we can, again, I don't see lenders pushing back on this. I think the main issue is going to be Chris's point about what qualifies as that customer, right? And all of us think differently, right? And so I think finding that, or at least flagging it, stopping it from reassigning until there's a conversation or something.
Yeah.
Jeremiah?
I think too, as we're talking about education, we're talking about training, it's incumbent on the forwarders, because if I understood Argo's comment, it was probably pointed more towards a forwarder because he didn't use the word lender in the statement. Is an employee sitting in a call center of a forwarder takes a phone call and says that, then they're not educated enough to make the right decision. They don't understand that they're playing with people's lives, right? And so just as the lender is responsible for, and should be held liable for allowing an account to go back out multiple times and someone ends up losing their life, the forwarder should be in the exact same string of liability, in my opinion, if we're dumb enough to not take action and reprimand or terminate an employee for making a statement and a decision that's stupid. So Vaughn, you aren't, going to get passionate, but I'm more than willing to. I think it's absolutely ignorant for any employee, no matter how you're incentivized. We talk about not wanting to drop a car because we're not going to get paid. We have to think about incentives cause motivation, cause us to make decisions in a certain way. And that goes right back to, us telling someone on the phone, we're not going to close this account. We're going to wait till the bank. No, I'm going to hang up with you. I'm going to call the bank and I'm going to say, you need to shut this down because this is a violent debtor. And I do not, want to see this account come back across my desk. And I think, as John stated, every lender out there doesn't want to put people, agents, or anything in that situation. So it's all about education and training and understanding what we do as an industry and where we fit into the wheel. And so that's all I wanted to say.
I'm going to jump in really quick, if you don't mind. I wasn't pointing fingers at one person, not a forwarder, not a bank, I said client because that's who hires us. It's across the board, whether it's a direct, whether it's a forwarder, whether it's a local, just here, hey, go do this. The communication process from the repossessor to the client, unless you have a direct cell phone number, is very diluted. It's like the game of telephone. Yes, it's in a computer. Yes, you can go in and read it. But you tell somebody the sky is blue, by the time it makes it to the person you can make the call, they think the sky is red and it's raining lava. And I think that right there could be a start of the fix to help somewhat of the violence against the agents.
Yep.
Thank you, Caleb.
Agreed.
I'd like to add, I'm seeing some chat about police reports and police not having the ability to have the time to make reports. I think when you consider what's a violent act, it has to be what the boots on the ground say is violent. And then maybe, I know you don't want to just blacklist a VIN because an agent says that. Maybe there needs to be some collaboration with the owner, maybe some type of interview prior to that account going dead. But this is things we can work on. But we have to do better when an account is flagged as violent, that we're not picking and choosing what violence is based on a certain threshold. People are getting goofy and agents are losing their lives, and we must do something. So any conversation around that with the software providers is needed.
So if I can real quick on that, just look John earmuffs real quick. What if the solution's not in the lender's hands? What if one of the challenges again is when we start receiving assignments that's shuffling in a machine there, because One thing is empathetic is, as a software provider, right or wrong, right? It's not always about the moral argument. It should be always about the moral argument, but sometimes it's not about the moral argument. When you say, hey, I'm going to shut down orders on your behalf, it's a tricky conversation sometimes, right? Is what if the software solutions were providing the agencies the information necessary to select the order? When an order comes over, if it's been flagged as a the agency has that insight at the point of accepting it, or the forwarder too, by the way, right? You know what I mean? But that information, like that flag, should follow that information all the way through the cycle. So now the choices in, Caleb's decision on whether or not he's going to, run that account based on the information provided, and do we have a source to provide the information? The guy got yelled, or the guy threatened violence, right? There's two different things, right? But it's really Caleb's decision. That, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to get to realistic solutions, but I think the decisions on whether to run an order, that the issue is the information is not flowing with the assignment. Does that make sense? Like, that's the challenge.
I think even just a short, simple task to fix that, even if you have to go through the data process to flag an account and make it go across the board, even just a simple task of, if it's sent over, I'm going to use my company, for example, if it's sent over to my company and then write in the updates, and Justin, if I can just use Primotus for an example, when you guys send it over, you put in all your notes and the updates and everything. Let's just say it was with another company, and you send it over and say, hey, this was with another company first. Just knowing that, we're all familiar with everybody in our area, whether we get along, don't get along, or whatever. Knowing it was with another company, you can judge your opinion on how it went with how that company works. And that's a start. That'll give us the headway, and then we can build off of that to flag the VIN, flag the account, flag the debtor. But that's just a quick little way to get the process solved until everything else is pushed forward.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that, right? Because one of the biggest challenges I have is that we're cycling counts too often, so frequently through different agents. We don't get any of the information of who the previous vendor was, or the what was done on those accounts. That's why we get so many dead-ended addresses that keep getting recycled. From the software providers, I would love that information. It would cut out so much nonsense going out into the field, including tackling this situation. It kind of expands beyond just this particular topic, but that is I think it's a colossal waste of time of redoing work every single time we recycle an assignment, right? So, my 2 cents.
Suzanne or Chris?
Yes, nope, Suzanne. My thing was, I feel like it should be, as much as we want to flag in RDN, that's or MBSI or whatever the software is, that's great. But if something happened to one of my agents, I would be taking the initiative to reach out to my vendor management team. And if it's a direct, then it's on them to handle this. In my opinion, they need to then, okay, where should we go with it? How should we handle it from there legally or whatnot? And if it did come through a forwarder, then I'm going to reach out to, again, vendor management team directly. It may be that, yes, everything gets still put into whichever software we were given the order, but ultimately, as an agency owner, I want to then make sure I specifically tell people in charge, so that way they can then be aware of it. I think flagging it in the system, maybe there's a way that once it's flagged as violent, then, that can get sent to some type of, like, the compliance director of whichever company the lien holder is. But I feel like the lien holders definitely need to handle it, and it's their responsibility because it's their account.
All right. Hey, everyone, real quick. We've got 5 minutes. And Vaughn, if you're willing to go beyond our time, that's fine. If not, just know, everybody, that we're not finished. We're just getting this started. So this is going to be an ongoing conversation, and but it's been amazing so far.
I would say, if there's anyone out there that wishes to say something that didn't get an opportunity, if you want to raise your hand, we'll call on you. If not, we'll go ahead and start with the closing. But I wanted to give everybody an opportunity, if they wanted to speak, to go ahead and speak.
I've got a comment.
Yes, Mark.
It says that you've got like 90 participants in here. I'm not going to try to piss off 88 of them, but I just might right now. But you're talking about confrontations and violence. Confrontations, excellent. They turn into violent acts. And as I said in my opening statement, you repossessors, you're not allowed to take the car if there's an objection to the repossession. So when that consumer comes to the door and says, hey, don't take my car, you're continuing to take the car. You need to stop it right there. I know you need it, I know you want it, but you don't have a right to that car. And I'm going to upset everybody here because you're continuing to go and hook up to the car and take it away while that debtor, while that consumer is getting more and more upset. All right. Here's my first comment. Secondly, for all of the forwarders that are here, and I'm not going to pick on any one of them directly, but we've been talking about training and certification for years. If you're not aware of all of the certification and training that's available to all the repossessors, and someone on your team is not doing their job. I'm trying not to be passionate about this, but I can't help it because more agents were killed in 2023 than ever before. And it's going to continue if we don't do something now. We don't make some changes. So I'll ask this for any forwarder who wants to answer. Do you absolutely make sure that all of your repossession vendors are certified by one of the many? You've got the Eagle Group, you've got Risk, you've got RSIG, you've got ARA and Allied. They all have been offering certification for years.
Yeah, I got no problem answering that, Mark. For ARS, absolutely 100%. Anybody on this call that contracts with ARS is a partner with us knows that we require basic certification through the state, and also if the state offers it, and also through anything offered by Risk or through Eagle Group or RSIG or you name it. If it's
absolutely, that's absolutely fantastic, because I'll tell you what, if you're not vetting every one of your repossession vendors, that means you're hiring based on low fees and not on quality of service. That's what we have to make sure happens.
100% agree, and I would say the presence of the forwarders that you see here, I think, is a testament to how important this is to us, and so much so that I think many of you have heard me speak on it on the stage at these various events, and it's why we're involved here today. And regardless of anyone's opinion on fees or account flow or assignments, this is passionate to us. I could say it's passionate to me, it's passionate to my leadership, and it's something that we take very seriously. So I appreciate your comments, Mark. Thank you.
Chris Campbell.
Yes, sir. I just had a quick question. I understand the importance of the body cameras and everything else, but I believe if the agency wants to utilize that, I mean, that's proprietary information. If we go into this group type setting of getting these cameras donated or and buy them in bulk and everything else, I just want to say, is that information that's on those body cameras, so that's still proprietary information for that individual agency, and it's not going to be out there because of somebody donated or anything else, then the clients are going to be thinking that that information is theirs to obtain with. Because we all know in a hostile situation, somebody might be speaking to a third party, and if he's, uses the long verbiage or language or anything else, as an agency owner, are we going to be, losing clients for the fact that they're getting proprietary information that should be proprietary information of what's going on out in the field?
That's a great point, Chris. And
hey, I can answer that from a body worn camera company perspective. So depending on how you host, obviously, if you host on-prem, which means you put in your own server and you have a docking station at your office, and Marcus Potter can can kind of back this point up as well, but you basically, your agents walk in and they put the camera in the docking station. It loads all that video footage to your user account within your own server internally. If you choose cloud storage, which you pay a little bit of a monthly fee for, it goes into the cloud and then you can access it anywhere. You can clip the videos, you can send them, save certain videos, you can overwrite over time so that you don't use too much DVR space, but it is absolutely 100% your property, and owned only by you and only accessible by you.
Chris, I can answer that too. And this isn't a pluck for anybody, but we use Safety Vision, and then we're running Samsara on all of our trucks. Sorry, my kids are shoveling the snow because we got the same snow Ron did. It is 100% proprietary. It's actually on the computer behind me. I have 2 terabyte hard drives that I download them into, and I categorize them by each agent in each truck. We worked with both companies and got the cameras synced to the trucks. They have actually helped, and I'll use our company for example. Me personally, March, I actually unfortunately was shot at too. I walked away, but I had a brand new truck with bullet holes in the side of it, and the lending institution came after us to try to say that it was a breach of peace because there was violence in the repossession. After turning over all the footage, it was deemed that it wasn't a breach of peace because we were already hooked to the car, had dollies under it, and was getting ready to pull away, and he started shooting at me from the 3rd-story apartment window. Yes, we turned it over to the lending institution. Yes, we turned it over to law enforcement, but it is 100% proprietary to you in the cloud system with password and backup and Face ID and text message requirements to get into it.
Okay. Hey, thanks everyone. Clearly we can continue talking for the rest of the day. And from this conversation, we can clearly see that safety in the field is all of our paramount concerns. We have an obligation to do everything we can to ensure our employees' safety. And now after this conversation, we're no longer in the green. And it's incumbent upon us to do the everything we possibly can to change the status quo. And while this mastermind event, it has been a good start, we have much more work to do. And now I can honestly say there's no way we can predict how this project will develop. But I believe every worthwhile endeavor begins with a single idea. And we started that today. We're grateful to our presenters who always, anytime I call, they've always answered the call. They've done it again today. They have provided us with their expertise, and they provided us with momentum that we need to advance this important agenda. Thanks to all of you who participated in today's call. You've demonstrated your willingness to keep our people safe. It means a lot to me personally, and I know it means a lot to you as well. And I'll hand this back over to Tony to cover our next steps and to close us out.
Thanks, Vaughn. Yeah, everybody, thanks for being here. We're going to follow up with those of you who attended today, asking for feedback, suggestions, any ideas that may have come about as a result of today's call. As Vaughn said, we're just getting this started and we have a lot of work to do, but just, thank you for playing a part today, and stay tuned for more coming in the days and weeks going forward, especially as we gear up towards for NARS 2024. This is at the very top of the priority list. So thank you, and just understand that we're not just going to leave all the questions and comments hanging. We're going to address all of them, either collectively or individually. Just be on the lookout. We're still trying to figure out exactly how this is going to look moving forward, but this is a great start. So
I just got a phone.
Thank you.
So it was kind of back to back to back. So I got him.
Go ahead and shut it off, Tom.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.